Have you ever, like, just felt totally boxed in by the rules?
Oh, all the time, yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm talking about the everyday rules, the sort of unspoken guidelines of your industry, or maybe the rigid structure of your morning routine, or, and this is a big one, even the quote-unquote right way to engage with your own creative hobbies.
Yeah, we are all, to some degree, kind of just operating inside a framework that tells us what is acceptable.
Exactly. But today, we are going deep into a group of people who didn't just break the rules. They, like, completely, utterly obliterated the very concept of a rule book.
I mean, they took the rule book, set it on fire, threw it into a crowd of bewildered onlookers, and made art out of the absolute chaos. It's a fascinating study in what happens when you remove every single guardrail from human expression.
It really is. And our map for this deep dive is this incredibly thorough column from Monumental Movement Records, or MMR. They put together this massive retrospective on the Japanese underground rock and noise scene, spanning the 1990s and 2000s.
Which is, without a doubt, just one of the most creatively terrifying but absolutely brilliant eras in modern music history.
Seriously. So our mission today is to figure out exactly how this specific era became a world-renowned cultural laboratory, right?
Yeah.
We want to understand how they fused pure noise with alternative rock and avant-garde punk.
Yeah, and more importantly, what their absolute uncompromised dedication to experimentation can teach you about breaking out of your own boxes.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I think to really get this, we have to start with the concept of noise itself.
We do. We actually need to redefine the word. Because when we say noise in this context, we have to strip away our everyday understanding of it.
Right, because to most of us, noise is just a nuisance.
Exactly. You know that awful piercing sound when a microphone feeds back at a wedding?
Yes, where everyone instinctively covers their ears.
Right. Or like a jackhammer outside your bedroom window at 7 a.m. It's something you actively try to block out. But for the purists in this underground scene, that acoustic violence wasn't a byproduct. It was the destination. Yeah, it was treated as a spiritual and intensely physical extreme.
And nobody embodies that spiritual extreme quite like Keiji Haino. I mean, to even picture his music with his band Fushitsusha, you have to imagine this vast, overwhelming sea of guitar, solitary vocals, and pure howling feedback.
It's intense.
It is, but it's not just someone making a racket, you know? The way it's documented, his sound world is almost religious. It's like this magical improvised ritual.
And that word ritual is key here. It's improvisation, but not in the way a jazz band jams on a Sunday afternoon.
Right.
It's an intense, sustained, almost punishing exploration of sound. And you can track this evolution clearly if you look at his 1981 solo album, Watashi Dake.
Which translates to only me, right?
Yes, exactly. And it features this incredibly solitary, isolated vocal and guitar noise. The silence between the screeching notes is almost as heavy as the noise itself.
That's such a cool way to describe it.
And interestingly, that album was recorded in the late 70s and early 80s, but it experienced a massive reevaluation in the 1990s. As the broader scene really exploded, people started looking back for the godfathers of the movement.
That makes sense. They were looking for their roots.
Mm-hmm.
And then you fast forward to 1997 with his band Fushitsusha, and they dropped the album A Death Never to Be Complete, which is described in the source as this completely overwhelming sea of improvisation.
A wall of sound.
Yeah, and this brings up a detail about Haino's process that I am just obsessed with, because he is widely known as a sound shaman.
Right.
And as part of his ritual, he famously changes every single string on his guitar right before he walks out on stage for a live performance.
Which, I mean, from a purely mechanical standpoint, is a total nightmare for a musician.
Oh, completely.
Brand new guitar strings haven't stretched yet, which means the second you strike them, they instantly fall out of tune.
That's exactly it. It's like, imagine a master sushi chef deciding that before he chops any vegetables, he's going to walk over to a blazing anvil and forge a brand new, glowing hot blade from raw steel.
That is a great analogy.
Yeah, it's about the absolute purity of the act, right? The instrument is born anew for that specific ritual. But practically, he is intentionally sabotaging his own instrument.
It really is.
He is forcing himself into a corner where his guitar is constantly falling out of tune, which forces him to physically fight the instrument live on stage to, like, wrestle those chaotic sounds out of it.
He's ensuring that the music can never be comfortable. He is treating the creation of the sound as a sacred, volatile act. But, if Heino's approach to noise was a spiritual struggle, another artist from this scene took a vastly different, far more abrasive path.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, he turned noise into a test of pure physical endurance and relentless conceptual evolution. Masami Akita, better known to the world as Merzbow.
The absolute titan of the genre. I mean, if you say noise music anywhere on the planet, people think of Merzbow.
He is the global synonym for it. And what's fascinating here is how he fundamentally changed the mechanics of how noise was made. So in the 80s, he was making cassette tapes using chaotic analog equipment.
Okay, but what does that mean exactly? Like, what is he physically doing?
Think of taking guitar distortion pedals, plugging them into each other in a closed loop, scraping pieces of scrap metal with contact microphones, and letting all those unpredictable electronic signals feed back and scream.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it creates this massive, roaring, living wall of sound that you can barely control. But by the late 90s, Merzbow completely transitions to laptop-driven noise.
Right, a huge shift.
Totally. Instead of wrestling with physical pedals, he is using digital software to take a microsecond of a screech, layer it 1,000 times, and compress it into this hyper-dense, mathematically precise sonic weapon.
And as the technology shifted, so did his messaging. Going into the 2000s, Merzbow started embedding specific conceptual themes into these towering walls of harshness,
He did.
specifically focusing on environmentalism, animal rights, and his vegetarian philosophies. He started using this extreme abrasive sound to represent real-world conceptual themes, almost like the noise was a reflection of ecological destruction. And I should note for the listener, we're just imparting the facts from the source material here.
Exactly, yeah.
We're not taking a stance or endorsing any specific political viewpoints, right or left. We are just neutrally reporting on how he injected his own personal philosophy into the art.
Right, we're just looking at the evolution of his concepts. And it's a brilliant pairing of medium and message, honestly. But we really have to talk about the physical reality of listening to this stuff.
Oh boy.
Because in 1994, he releases Venerology, which incorporated these blast beat death metal elements. It is just the pinnacle of extreme aggression. But then, in 1996, he drops Pulse Demon.
Okay, so I actually tried listening to Pulse Demon to prepare for this deep dive.
And how did that go for you?
Honestly,
Hey.
it felt like my brain was vibrating in a way that violated my biology.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
It is a continuous, overwhelming, high-frequency metallic roar. It is widely hailed internationally as the most unlistenable album ever recorded. So I have to ask, how on earth is an album that actively hurts to listen to considered a monumental pinnacle of art?
Because it is the absolute maximization of sonic frequency. I mean, Pulse Demon isn't meant to be catchy, It's meant to test the very limits of what the human ear can process before shutting down.
So it's an endurance test.
Exactly. It is pure, unadulterated texture. But what shows Merzbow's true genius isn't just his ability to punish the listener, it's his ability to pivot. Because in 2002, he releases an album called Merzbeat.
Right.
And suddenly, he takes this terrifying, harsh noise and fuses it with the standard 4-on-the-floor 44 club beat.
Wait, really? You're telling me people were supposed to dance to a metallic roar just because he put a dance beat under it?
I know.
That sounds like a migraine waiting to happen.
It sounds like it shouldn't work, but a 44 club beat is just a steady thump, 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 thump. It's the most basic, primal rhythm in human music. It mimics a heartbeat.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
By putting that simple, predictable rhythm underneath the absolute chaos of harsh noise, it anchors the brain. It gives your mind a structural lifeline to hold on to while the storm just rages around you.
So it makes the unlistenable accessible.
Precisely.
It's actually cited as the perfect beginner recommendation. If you want to dip your toes into harsh noise without instantly drowning, having that recognizable rhythm makes all the difference.
Exactly. And structure, or, the intentional destruction of it, is really the defining tension of this entire scene. Merzbow pushed the extreme limits of what could be recorded onto a CD and endured through headphones.
Yeah.
But how do you top that? If you've already maximized pure volume, where do you go?
You completely obliterate the concept of what a live performance is supposed to be.
Yes, you attack the stage itself.
Which brings us to Hijo Kaidan. They are widely recognized as the world's very first noise band, starting way back in 1980 with an album called Zuroku no Kibyu.
They are the crucial linchpin in this history because Hijo Kaidan deliberately blurred the line between a music concert and genuinely dangerous performance art.
And they kept doing it for a long time.
decades, actually, right up to their 2014 session album Zatsu on Densetsu, where they actually collaborated with members of Merzbow and Incapacitants, and their 2017 culmination, Destroy Noise Symphony.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting and where we get to the wild stuff that the source outlines. We have to talk about what physically happened at Hijokaidan live shows.
Oh, yeah. This is wild.
We are talking about the band throwing garbage and food into the crowd, urinating on stage, throwing literal sparks, dancing naked. And yes, a massive international scandal that sparked huge debate in overseas media because they actually dismantled a dead chicken on stage during a set.
It was complete chaos.
Right, and I'm sorry, I have to push back here.
Yeah.
I go to a club, I buy a ticket, and someone throws raw poultry at me. At what point does this stop being a musical performance and just become a public disturbance?
Honestly, it is a totally valid reaction, and frankly, it is exactly the reaction they wanted you to have.
Really? They wanted you to be mad?
Yes, because if we look at the analytical why behind these actions, Hijokaidan wasn't just being chaotic for the sake of getting arrested or being edgy. They were actively, aggressively dismantling the audience's expectation of passive consumption.
Passive consumption.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, the idea that I just get to stand there with a beer, nod my head, and be entertained.
Precisely. Think about a normal concert. There is a safe, invisible wall between the performer on the stage and the audience on the floor.
Yeah, for sure.
You are the consumer, they are the product. It's a transaction. Hijokaidan weaponized noise and physical danger to shatter that invisible wall. You couldn't just passively consume a Hijokaidan show.
Because you were dodging flying debris.
Exactly. You had to physically react. You had to dodge flying objects. You had to deal with the sheer physical pressure of the volume. They forced the audience into the brutal present moment through sheer shock and adrenaline. It was a complete rejection of music as a comfortable commodity.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense when you frame it that way. They are breaking the rule that says the audience is entitled to be comfortable.
Right.
But throwing dead chickens and sparking riots is exhausting.
Yeah.
You can't sustain that level of physical danger forever. So if you want to keep the intense aggression of noise, but make it musically sustainable without getting arrested every night, what do?
You force it into a structure.
You make it fast.
Yeah.
Which brings us to Melt Banana.
Melt Banana represents a brilliant pivot in the scene's evolution. They took the abrasive texture of noise and applied it to extreme velocity and discipline.
They invented what's referred to as nanocore.
Mm.
And the best analogy I can think of to describe nanocore is this. Imagine taking traditional aggressive hardcore punk rock, shoving it into a multi-billion-dollar particle accelerator, and just smashing the musical atoms together at the speed of light.
I love that.
Songs that are 30 seconds long. It is incredibly dense, incredibly fast, and somehow incredibly precise.
And layered on top of that blistering speed is the genius of their vocalist, Yasuko Oh. Her voice is distinctively cute, yet piercingly sharp. In a genre dominated by low, rumbling frequencies and screaming distortion, her high-register vocals completely slice through the overwhelming instrumental noise. It's a sonic contrast that makes everything hit harder.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Melt Banana achieved massive overseas cult status. They were literally dubbed Japan's fastest band. They were championed by jazz avant-garde legend John Zorn, and they were even supported by the legendary American rock producer Steve Albini.
Yeah, and you can trace why they succeeded by looking at how they evolved. Their 1994 album, Speak Squeak Creek, is pure, explosive, nanocore speed.
It's just relentless.
It really is. It's the raw adrenaline of a riot compressed into short bursts. But by 1998, with the album Charlie, they don't just play fast. They develop highly disciplined, organized song structures. They prove noise could be technical.
And then they kind of hit a physical ceiling, right?
Pretty much.
Because by 2003, with the album Cellscape, they start weaving in complex electronic elements. I imagine that happens because once your wrist is strumming a guitar as fast as humanly possible, the only way to get faster and more intense is to start using machines.
Exactly. They took the raw material of noise and refined it into a laser-focused weapon.
Which perfectly tees up the next and arguably most expansive evolution in the scene.
Hmm.
Because if Melt Banana took noise and compressed it down into a tiny hyperfast particle, our next artist took noise and exploded it outward into a sprawling galaxy.
Oh, absolutely.
They turned it into a massive, tribal, psychedelic, communal experience.
We are, of course, talking about the Boredoms, led by Aya Matsuka and Seiichi Yamamoto.
The Boredoms.
Yes, the Boredoms are essential because they represented the ultimate coexistence of high art and utter unbridled chaos.
Their trajectory is wild. In their early days, like their 1991 album Pop Tatari, It was this maddening, hardcore noise fusion. It was frantic and attacking.
Very much so.
But as they moved through the 90s, they realized that you can use noise for something other than aggression. You can use it for transcendence.
Right. They transition from aggressive noise punk into something deeply spiritual. They start focusing on complex polyrhythms and psychedelia.
And just to clarify for the listener, polyrhythms are basically when you have multiple competing tribal grooves playing over each other at the exact same time, rather than everyone marching to one single beat.
Yeah, it's like different gears in a clock interlocking perfectly to create this mesmerizing, swirling trance.
The era of this shift produced two massive albums. Suprai in 1998, which, by the way, is another phenomenal beginner recommendation if you want to understand the scene, and Vision Creation Newson in 1999.
Incredible record.
It's no longer about punishing the listener. It's about elevating them. And this obsession with rhythm and community culminates in what has to be one of the most unbelievable live music logistical nightmares ever pulled off.
You're talking about the 77 Bodrum event.
Yes. On July 7, 2007, 770707, the Boredoms went to Brooklyn, New York, and orchestrated a live performance featuring exactly 77 drummers playing simultaneously.
That is just insane to think about.
Imagine the physical acoustic power of that. 77 drum kits arranged in a massive spiral in a park, all being conducted in this massive swirling tribal rhythm.
It's brilliant. But this raises an important question. How does a movement that started with guys chaining distortion pedals together to make unlistenable metallic noise or, throwing garbage in tiny Tokyo clubs evolve to the point where they are commanding 77 drummers in an outdoor park in New York City?
Right. How do you go from the underground fringe to a global cultural phenomenon?
It's about the intersection of raw art and modern infrastructure. The 1990s were the explosion. It was an era of avant-garde experimentation, heavily driven by the raw energy of punk and the mind-expanding elements of psychedelia. And we should also give a nod to other vital acts from this explosion, like Violent Onsen Geisha, who were right there pushing these absurd boundaries. The 90s laid the creative foundation, but as the calendar turned to the 2000s, the business infrastructure caught up to the art.
The internet, global distribution, all of that.
Precisely. You saw the massive rise of independent labels that were finally willing to distribute this incredibly difficult music.
Yeah.
You saw these bands getting booked for major international festival appearances.
And people were ready for it.
Yes. And crucially, there was a global reevaluation. The world's alternative music scenes, especially in America and Europe, started looking to Japan not just as a weird novelty, but as the absolute cutting edge of musical expression.
So what does this all mean? We've talked about sound shamans destroying their own instruments, unlistenable metallic endurance tests, stage riots designed to break the invisible wall, particle accelerator punk, and 77 drummers creating a rhythmic trance.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. And I know what you might be thinking. You might be listening to this driving to work or folding laundry thinking, I am probably never going to put on a harsh noise album for fun. And that's totally fair.
Oh, absolutely. It is intensely abrasive music. It is not designed for a casual Tuesday afternoon.
But understanding this era isn't about forcing yourself to listen to Pulse Demon on repeat.
Right.
It's about understanding the immense cultural value of breaking rigid frameworks. These artists prove that by completely rejecting the quote-unquote rules of your discipline, by doing the exact opposite of what is considered correct or palatable or marketable, you can create something entirely new.
Something undeniably powerful.
Exactly. Something so undeniable that it commands global attention and forces the rest of the world to catch up to you.
That is the real takeaway. It's the methodology of extreme experimentation. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, there is one final, truly mind-bending reality about the practical application of all this chaos today.
Okay, lay it on me.
Because this underground noise didn't just stay trapped in the 90s as some retro footnote, it's actually right in the source's FAQ section. First of all, the techniques developed in this scene found their way into modern film soundtracks.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Composers realized that this specific type of experimental abrasive sound was the absolute perfect tool to create unique, visceral cinematic tension.
That makes total sense, actually. But there's more, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. That's not even the craziest part.
I knew it.
The complex structural frameworks developed by these avant-garde noise artists, the way they organized chaotic frequencies, the way they layered extreme, unpredictable sound, those frameworks are now being actively applied to current research in AI music generation.
Wait, just let that sink in for a second.
Yeah.
The algorithms of the future are being trained on the noise of the past.
It makes perfect sense when you break down the mechanics of it. If
Yeah.
you want to teach an artificial intelligence what the absolute boundaries of human auditory expression are, you don't feed it a simple three-chord pop song.
Right, because that just teaches it the safe middle ground.
Exactly. If you want an AI to truly map the sonic universe, you feed it the extremes. You teach it the outer limits of the spectrum. You teach it Merzbow.
Wow. Which brings us right back to where we started. Think about those boxes you feel trapped in right now. The rule books you feel obligated to follow in your job, your art, or your life.
Yeah, the invisible frameworks.
The next time you feel creatively or professionally boxed in, I want you to consider this. The most chaotic, messy, unpredictable, physically dangerous, and seemingly unlistenable human music of the 1990s Japanese underground. Well, it's currently acting as the literal blueprint to teach artificial intelligence how to understand and generate sound.
It's incredible. They burned the rule book, and out of the ashes, they accidentally wrote the code for the future.
It just goes to show sometimes you have to make a little noise, see where the boundaries really are. Keep breaking those rules. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.